Hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite, Rafael Tavares, talking to you from our show here, The Written Writ. A show where you and I and you take a journey together to become better writers. Yes, we are here, straight from Anime NYC, where we had a blast talking to people, having all kinds of anime fun, and buying up a ton of merchandise. I'm broke now, so if you want my services, I will be willing to take any writer's jobs or voiceover jobs that you can apply for me. With that, we have the Shadow, Mr. Rabbit.
Yo.
So, Shadow, I saw you were all dapper and nice looking, and I saw that whole beautiful little thing you did there, and you were all like James Bond.
Oh shoot, man! Thank you. I could still sort of fit into a suit, so that kind of made me feel good.
Dude, you sent me that picture. I was like, damn, that guy's fly.
Hey, man, that I got to wear my my Something's Killing the Children mask and everything.
Speaking of children.
Hello.
I want to show something. Look at this. So, there's two elevators. One of them only goes up, but I just realized this is the basement. And this. What in the world is that?
A coffin.
Oh no.
This place is haunted.
All right. F goes a guest star for today. Oh wait.
So my wedding was fun, man, but I was pretty bummed I missed out on Anime NYC. Looking forward to hearing what happened.
You were missed, and I feel like if you were there, you would have made a ton of cash.
It's about being with friends and nerding out. That's what's really important.
You know what it is? That's what it is. Damn, we everybody's happy over here. We started early, and everybody's like ready to go.
Right?
Vincent's on. Hey, what's up, Vincent?
What's up, homie?
Was I supposed to call, or was the guy supposed to call? Shen, how you doing? I'm happy that you are with us, and of course, Shen is an amazing artist in her own right. You know, I'm waiting for her to start showing stuff off so we can show her off.
We have a platform, please.
And look at it, Andrew is there too. Woof, we're on fire tonight,
man.
Speaking of fire, we can't have a written writ without a Nat, who's not the intern.
It is just Nat the person.
Nat the person? I think we were giving him too much of a.
Wow, I'm being counted as a person. Does this mean I can finally?
I thought he was the weave.
Yes, I am a weave. I see no problem here.
You are orchestrating all sorts of trivia and giveaways and interviews.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you're a freaking mogul, man.
Some certain Shadow Rabbit figures.
Shen, you're so welcome.
I want to hear how that went.
Yes, it went a lot more
Vincent.
strangely than what you would think.
Interesting. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for your Gil in New York figure, Shadow.
Don't ruin the video.
Nobody knows what she's talking about. When I heard her say Gil, I was thinking Gil.
So now I've got some ideas of what happened.
I certainly didn't allow certain people to cheat. That was Ralph's job.
I mean, look, if you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
And of course, we have a special surprise because nobody can ever find Roaming Tony, and maybe you won't even see him today.
Hey, here I am.
Tony, how you doing? Dude, you when I ran into you, you looked exhausted. You must have had a blast at Anime NYC.
Yeah, very, very tired, very tired. Yeah, I had a good time. Yeah, a lot of standing on lines. a lot of standing on lines.
Speaking of that,
the best part of the cons.
You got that line experience completely. Did you end up outside? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because you guys going with the press pass, right? So I think I saw some video of you early on where you were at the convention. It was completely empty. We were all outside. They wouldn't let us in.
Exactly.
So we were. So
Oh,
it was
I
so
have
funny.
stories on different days because Ralph didn't come in the next 2 days early for that.
Well, that's
Wow.
why I asked Tony because he was out there with the crowd.
Wow.
With the
So we were
people.
online. It was like the old school New York Comic Con days where we were just online and it stretched for blocks and blocks and blocks. We're on like 41st Street. And we were outside for like 2.5 hours because like we were on a line for basically for us to show our vaccination card and for us to get a bracelet that we're vaccinated. So we're on that line for like hours and hours, and then like the line starts moving up, maybe after 2.5 hours. And by the time it moves up, I can see inside the window, and I just see a lady just sitting there with like hundreds and hundreds of vaccination bracelets just sitting there doing nothing, and then so we're moving up, and then
Like,
my
I ain't
phone
getting
is
paid
off.
enough for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's always an experience. So when I was there, my phone was off, right? Because like when I do conventions, I try to conserve my phone as much as possible. Then out of nowhere, while we're by that window, someone just opens opens the door out of nowhere. It says, "Hey, everybody, come in. Show us your vaccination proof and just come in." Out of nowhere. So my phone is off. That's where I have my vaccination pass. And my phone is off. And I was like, "Oh, trying to turn my phone to show it to the person." He's like, "Oh, this is taking a while. I'll show you my card." And she was like, "No, you know what? Forget it. Here's a vaccination bracelet." He said, "Okay." So
Yep.
so this is how it was. It was crazy. And then
that's that level of security that I really appreciate.
it's
Almost as good as those metal detectors that always go off whenever I walk through it. But then when I got their keys and grab them, they're like, "Yeah, you're good."
Dude, why were you giving away the fact you're bionic? Oh wait,
they just like to touch me,
dude. Because
So,
Tony, all I kept hearing
pretend I don't
from
like it
people
back.
coming in was like, "Oh, we were out there for 2 hours. We were out there for 4 hours," and I was like, "What the heck is this?" I was like, "Let me ask Tony." Yeah.
We don't understand what the reason was. We all had our badges. I mean, we didn't. This was the show already started, which didn't make any sense.
Those
We were outside,
exclusives
the
are
show
hard to
already
find,
started.
man. They're trying to keep the crowds out so they can grab up all the swag,
I don't know. But it was so funny because the first day they sent this whole email to everybody, said, "Hey, we're not a line con. We're sorry. We have this new system. Everybody lines up on the green, on the red, on the blue." Came back the next day, same thing.
Okay, so I can actually speak on this one because I was there early enough to see it.
Yeah, it was. So that Saturday, it was shorter, but 30 minutes, but it made no sense. Sunday was the only day it made sense. They just let you in the building.
The regular pass, right? You didn't have the pro pass.
Yeah. No. I just had a regular 3-day. Yeah.
Pro pass members came in with press and staff, and they were inside the Crystal Palace, and that line was not as long as you think it is. Like, they were in the con within, like, I think it was less than 5 minutes of the opening time.
Wow.
Now, if you had a 3-day pass and you already had your band, they were also letting those people in
Andrew.
with the pros.
Yeah, I haven't been to too many cons, but it seems like they got to figure out what they're doing because, they make you go through the COVID thing. And like you already said, they have they just have a real top-notch way to prove that you've got the thing. And it's completely inconsistent how long or how close they look at your stuff. And one of them, they're verifying it past your ID. The other one, like, yeah, whatever, take it. I don't care.
My friend, like he got caught in traffic and he had things to do all day. So Saturday he came like so late. They didn't check for his vaccination. They didn't even give him a badge. They just let him walk in. They said, "Here, it's late. Just walk in." We're like, "All right,
go,
just go."
Dude, I kind of wish Giovanni was here because Giovanni was also a part of that line too, and he was there for like an hour.
In Baltimore, the line got so bad. I think the second day, the people were just like, "Whatever, we'll see you for dinner." Like, we're not even gonna bother coming. Like, it was like, I'm not waiting 3 hours to get into this.
Oh my God. Copy's busy over here. He's like, "Take a bracelet. Green, red, blue.
Yep.
Rainbow."
You guys gotta see what
Palace. Is this related to the champagne room?
Oh, I wish.
Hey, sometimes it is.
No sex at Anime NYC.
My man Copy's about to drop some cool stuff soon. Mystery boxes.
That line was enormous. That's what she said.
Sometimes.
Sorry. This is a family show.
That's why there's absolutely, positively no sex in anime in my
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was an interesting convention. They had a lot of hiccups, but the funny thing is that even with all those hiccups, it was an incredible show.
Oh yeah, no, it was a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, which was so surprising because you figure you have all these hiccups happening that the show would it have issues because those are not even little issues; those are major issues.
Yeah.
I know, Anthony, you covered a lot of the panels, but they looked like they were all hot. A lot of people were like all over those things.
Yeah, they were all crowded. They were all like almost everyone. All of them were packed. I mean, it wasn't until like Sunday. I mean, it wasn't until like Sunday where they, where it was like you can just walk in, but it was like everything was packed. And we were in panels where I was just sitting on the floor. It was so packed, and it would be like a panel that you wouldn't even expect to be full. It was like Attack on Titan manga panel. I'm sitting on the floor. It was so crowded. And it's a manga
that bad?
Finished. But yeah, there were a lot of things like that. Yeah. For the most part, everything I showed up for an hour early, I can get into though. Anything I showed up for an hour early. So that that meant that I had to miss things like like the Fate Grand Order. I had to miss that because I knew if I went to that, like I wouldn't be able to get into something else. So. The only thing that was like bad was like the One Piece panel. Like, you just couldn't get into that. I think you had to like,
dude,
you had to like line up
for that thing.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god! And then people got denied. We saw the line, and some of the people on the line didn't even make it into the one. And my big question was, why wasn't this in the main room?
Well, like I think it seemed like they realized that the 1,000th episode was like was gonna coincide with Anime NYC, but they just but they didn't do anything to like accommodate for that. Like,
right.
It's not like they got the special DVD from Japan. They just like put on Crunchyroll Funimation, and when it started at 10:30, this is when we're gonna show the episode. That's pretty much like it wasn't like because the episode starts at 10:30. Well, I don't know, I wasn't there. But the episode starts at 10:30, and coincidentally, we're gonna show it at 10:30. I think you're just gonna turn on the same internet Crunchyroll Funimation and just play it. So, and also like, well, to be fair, like I'm a big One Piece fan. So, the first year, like, well, I think they had it. The second year, they had a One Piece panel. There was room to spare. Not a lot of One Piece fans. And then last year. Not last year. The last show we had another One Piece panel, and I mean it was in one of the small rooms, like the E01, which I think this year was like Anime Room 1, very small, not crowded. But this year it was so many people. The thing is, like like we had a pandemic, where we were all sitting at home. Like people have had all the time in the world to catch up. Even myself, I was behind like hundreds of episodes. So we had all this time. I was just sitting at home for 3 months, to catch up. A lot of people were caught up now. So I think they didn't. Maybe they looked at, it's One Piece, it's niche. I didn't think they didn't understand how big One Piece has become. So there was that. I mean, I wish they did. I mean, we should have had it in the main stage, or there are bigger rooms. Like if we had it in like, they have 1A, 221, the 919. Those are bigger rooms. But I didn't really do anything to accommodate. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's sad that like after whatever, I don't get in, that's fine. I go to these things, so I don't get into things. It's fine, but it's like, like I'm online, like after the convention, we're walking around, we're seeing all these people wearing One Piece costumes, man. And we know that they put in the extra effort, and we know that they really wanted to see that episode, and then it didn't happen.
And you're right. There were so many cosplayers there doing One Piece, and when we were there, like at the end of the night, we were filming a couple things. That line was huge. It was like epic, and it's kind of sad to know that like a lot of those people didn't get to see what they were there for.
Yeah.
So now, are you back, or are you still having troubles over there? He's still having trouble.
He's mad about the One Piece thing. Like that.
Yeah, man. I know you're mad about the One Piece, but you don't have to like
turn it over his table.
Like, can't even talk about it. He's so.
Just kidding, man. Just kidding.
But yeah, I have to admit, like, even with all these problems, and there was a bunch of them, it was an epic show. It was one of the best. Yeah, it was one of the best anime NYCs I've ever been to.
Well, just
that's
salt in my wound here, man. Jesus.
Let's see what Copy's up to.
I mean, a big thrill for me. A big thrill for me was I got to see Shinji Aramaki. That was a big thrill. Like, I mean, he's the real reason I got into anime, because the reason I got into anime was because of Robotech.
I remember.
So like when I was a kid, like it was just I randomly turned on the TV. I saw one episode of like the Macross Saga, and then like one Monday morning, I just randomly got up at 6:30, going to school, turned on the TV, and I saw like the first episode of Robotech New Generation, which was really Genesis Climber and Speeder. But we encountered this. We got everything the messed up way. But when I saw the first episode, like I never seen everything. Like practically everyone in the episode died. But before the end, I was like, "What? What's this?" Like I've never seen anything like that. And a big reason why I'm an anime fan. Of course, later I watched it as Genesis Climber, Speeder and everything. But yeah, I mean, so that was a thrill. It's like meeting one of your heroes. That's very cool, man.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because my first anime was Battle of the Planets, but it's not Battle of the Planets. It's what Vataman.
Gotcha, man. Yeah.
There you go.
Gotcha, man. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that version of it. I've only seen the great. Oh my god, it was fantastic, but it was very
it was extremely edited, like.
It was a lot of fun. That's all I can say. It got me into anime after that.
I looked out in the way.
That was it. It was very campy.
I looked out in the way because of the three sagas that Robotech adopted. Robotech, Genesis Climber Speeder. It's the one that they changed the least. They didn't mess with it too much. But like Macross, they, and the Masters, they weren't even on planet Earth in the original anime. So that they mess with a lot. So it's the one they mess with the least. I mean, at most they just put in Rick Hunter's name every once in a while. Hey, what about Rick Hunter? Like for the Macross saga. So in that way, I lucked out. But yeah, I don't have any, like some people, they're have feelings towards Harmony Gold or what they did. They took 3 shows and they put them all together. I don't really, because back in the day, the way things were, this was like the only way to get this on TV. Like it was the only way for us to experiment.
And so, because we got like weird versions of the show over here, even with our video games. Our video games will go and we would get weird versions of what we were playing.
All our mates belong to us.
Really, their Final Fantasy 6,
Yeah. But the Harmony Golds of today, I can't stand to do. It's like they're like, oh my god.
Here's a good question, and
not doing anything with the property, just releasing merchandise, junk, and oh man. But Big West, they're doing a lot of stuff with Macross because they kind of like settled all the legal stuff. So yeah, Macross Plus is going to be in the movies December 14th.
I saw that it's starting to like re-show up again. Yeah, so they settled all that legal stuff. Like, I wouldn't have anything against Harmony Gold if they were like making new products, like making new Robotech, making new, I don't know. They just keep talking about this Hollywood movie for the last 15 years that there's no progress on. Well, you could be like Cowboy Bebop and and how upset Lou is because he
No. We need to finish our anime NYC stuff before we go into this.
Hold him back, man.
We're talking about how the animes are put on television.
Man, I disappear for 5 minutes because my Wi-Fi cut down. We're already trying to get Lou started on his rampage on Cowboy Bebop.
You got a new outfit on there. Yo, he gave me a couple different lead-ins there. I didn't bite on any of it. The first show, first anime. Bring it to America. Change stuff. No excuse if it sucks now. Yeah.
There's no excuse that it sucks now.
Yeah, it was fucking.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
I know you're upset. You're waiting to like chomp on everything over there.
Well, I think I went on an old Sorry, I went on a big old school anime tangent. Sorry about that.
Oh no, it was perfect. That's what
Sorry
we do.
about
Don't worry.
I'm not
we're
to do with
talking
anime.
anime
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just go. Let's just go with it now. Since we're here, we might as well. We'll bounce back.
I'd like to apologize to the Game of Thrones showrunners because I thought they did something unique
Damn!
with season 8.
That was
You know,
vicious.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
dog crap.
wow! You're not even pulling your punches there, Lou.
Oh,
Ralph, your
and the
guest
reason
is
they're
gonna
gonna
be late.
the
I'm
thing
gonna tell you that right now.
and the reason, like, oh well, people don't like it because this and that. No, it's not because of all the stuff they changed. It's not because they were grossly unfaithful to the original content. It's not because they, changed ethnicities or tried to come up with something new. It's just because it was garbage all the way through, and they clearly didn't even try to make a good show.
Wow!
Just like cliche garbage, overacting by people who had no interest in the characters or the overarching storyline. Just and at the same time they tried to do scene for scene recreations from the anime, but then be like, no, we're completely different. Like, we can do our own thing. It's like, then do your own thing.
yeah.
Oh well, you're mad because Faye's outfit is different. It's impossible to make her look like that. Meanwhile, you just at Anime Con, you see everyone dressed like that.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's not why it sucked. It sucked because the actress playing Faye had never watched the show and didn't care about making an interesting character. Just trying to make some snappy Law and Order rip-off character. Like,
You know what's funny? It's funny that you say that because it kind of reminds me of why I didn't like Captain Marvel. It's because I don't feel like the actress,
I would watch anything with Brie Larson over this.
Let me ask you then: do you feel like she did a good job in interpreting her version of Captain Marvel? Do you think it was her, or do you think it was the writing?
Look, I don't blame the actors for doing what they do, especially when they're uninvested in the character. I don't mean like they don't want to do well. I mean, they're not going to put the time and effort into learning all the canon material and caring about it. So I put it on the writers or the editors or whoever gets final say to be like, that was bad. How about redo it?
And it's funny, but because I always feel like, especially with Captain Marvel, I feel like everybody sat there and said, "This is good."
It
And I'm
was,
like,
it was
no.
better than I was expecting from everyone's reviews. But
I think I logged out. Hey,
that's okay. I said some pretty
Don't
awful
worry, it's
things.
happening to all of us over here.
You can't say bad stuff about Captain. Look, I'm gonna keep watching the live action anime garbage that Netflix makes because I own Netflix stock. But it is garbage, and someone needs to be held accountable.
Quickly, I can speak to Captain Marvel. I know the character more as Ms. Marvel, and
Yeah, me too.
ever since, but the comics did it too. Ever since they changed her to Captain Marvel, she's not the same person anymore.
Mm-mm.
So she became. They made her more like a symbol, an icon, like their Wonder Woman, which she wasn't. I just remember comics of Ms. Marvel, complaining about her weight and this and that, and she's not that anymore. So
If I
Yeah,
could
I
say my,
agree with you.
I wish they made Monica. I wish they just got a little bit ahead of things and made Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel. Because when I was a kid, that's who Captain Marvel was. I wish they would have done that.
That would have been great. Yeah.
so the MCU.
Her movie was okay. I didn't. Her movie was okay.
I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie. I just didn't like
Yeah.
the growth of the character. Yeah.
I think it was okay.
I can separate.
I didn't like
MCU
Eternals
from,
and I didn't like Avengers: Age of Ultron. Those two. The rest of them either okay or I love them. So
I thought Shang-Chi was good.
Shang-Chi was good too.
Shang-Chi was very good. Yeah.
But the MCU is different. So the MCU is its own thing. I think.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, well, that's the comic books anymore because it's so
right.
different. Cowboy Bebop was trash because they didn't even make it its own thing. They just they're like, yo, you remember Jupiter Ascending? Let's do everything they did in that and just make a terrible show. Oh my god, just the coolest characters. It was so the whole Cowboy Bebop is all about the bebop and the jazz and they're just rocking with it and every episode is a song, a great song. they were like, yeah, let's do like a crappy drunk karaoke cosplay version of all those songs. It's you guys going out, karaokeing after a cosplay. Our boys are better than what they did with this show.
Here's a good question for you, Lou. Would you guys compare the CV Netflix series to how they did Ghost in the Shell movie? Ooh.
No, no, because I mean, the Ghost in the Shell wasn't good either, but
Yeah,
at least they tried to make it its own thing.
I'll give you that
That's
much.
good
They did try to
points.
make it his own thing. Yeah.
they
Like, they
had
were never-
effects. They
Yeah.
had effects, special effects.
Mhm.
Cowboy Bebop special effects.
But it wasn't even about the it's inconsistently bad too. It's like
Yeah.
they make Spike like getting his butt kicked by nobodies, and then it's like all of a sudden he's back to being like awesome, and, like he can take out a room full of hitmen. But then it's like, oh, he gets beat up by some bum in a bar. It's just inconsistently terrible. Like
Ghost in the Shell.
it was like Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon, like the guys who did like the Lethal Weapon TV show.
I never
And
watched it.
I swear
on
to God, dude,
purpose.
you saw the opening to it, right? Like in the casino. There's a spoiler alert for this terrible show.
Oh, you're talking about Cowboy Bebop?
Cowboy Bebop, just the opening.
I saw the first episode.
They could have done all the cool stuff, where you don't know there's going to be garbage. And then, Spike comes down, he's listening to the headsets. You're going to think he's going to do like all his, Jeet Kune Do stuff where like he's, walking around. He karate kicks a poker chip across the room at a guy holding a hostage, and he's killing everyone. And Jet jumps through the ceiling. He's like, "Damn it, Spark! I told you stop killing them all." Spark's like, "I'm sorry, brother." I'm like, "What in the God? What is this?" Like, it felt like an awful parody of like a Lethal Weapon film. And it never stopped being bad.
Oh my God! No, see, now that you said that to me, all I can think of is when they put Jet Li in Lethal Weapon, and you're expected to believe
The
that
forefathers?
these two cops can handle Jet Li.
Oh, yeah, Jet Li was wrecking them. He's just taking apart their guns and stuff.
Ghost in the Shell is funny in that every adaptation is based on the first anime movie. It's never based on the manga. If you look at every adaptation, it's pretty much based on anime movie, not the manga. It's interesting.
That's true.
Like everyone, like.
Well, didn't they try to mix standalone into it? A standalone
They have-
complex into the movie.
They have
cherry-picked
bits
a
and
bunch
pieces
garbage.
of the manga, but it's really like based on the movie. Those effects, that invisible effect that they all have, they're really based on anime. It's funny. It's like
It's like I think
Standalone was its own standalone complex. I mean, that it's kind of in the name.
these shows are so good, and they are
But
trying to make them.
Well, standalone is great. That's a great series. Not the new one, but the.
You know how I know they could have made Cowboy Bebop good, and all their explanations are are baloney? Because I saw Firefly. I watched Dark Matter.
Okay, yeah.
Freaking Guardians
Some
of the
good shows out
Galaxy.
there, yeah.
And it's not a difficult concept. You got space cowboys and stuff. I mean, come on. Oh, how are we ever going to tell a futuristic bounty hunter story with an ensemble cast and episodically? It's like, how about exactly the way they did it?
Did somebody say The Mandalorian?
Yeah, the Mandalorian, dude. Exactly.
Exactly. The Mandalorian's amazing.
They spent money.
but we did
spent money.
We put progress into it. Look at us. We changed people's race or gender or something. Okay, who cares? Did they do a good job acting it? Did they care about it? Or are you just checking off some list of like physical attributes? Because that's baloney.
Jen's like, wow, that's so bad, not so good. That it's bad. It's so bad. Do you think
I'm sorry.
Get any worse? But I know better.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm
Preach.
It's not and the worst part is it's not even like Sharknado. It's not bad enough that I want to keep watching it because it's so bad. It's garbage. Bad directors deserve to be held accountable for this. I'm not getting 10 years into a show again so they can just poop out the freaking, Night King episode and one like bad overacted Can't even see it on the screen. Dark Matter was dope, man. Killjoys, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Some good shows
Fucking
out there.
Farscape, anything.
Yeah.
You can't come up
You
with
can,
this.
it can be done. That's why it bugs me out when they're like, oh, it can't be done.
That guy who did the
judging too hard.
Futurama episode, the guy who did the YouTube Futurama episode on his own dime for like 20 years. Come on.
Wow.
I'm not blaming the actors either. Like it was fine. Like the guy who did Jet was kind of cool, and Roldy was okay. Spike,
That's what I've been
I guess,
hearing.
but,
Like, people like the actors in this. Yeah.
Yeah, but they want. I mean, they're completely unfaithful to the source material. I guess Jet sort of was okay, but it's like I got my daughter. Man, I hope my daughter's okay. What is this? It's
Jet Black had sex.
Jet Black was awesome. He was a noir detective in outer space. He's the man, and he's like, man, I gotta find a Barbie doll for my daughter. This is like a 3-episode arc that they kept going back to that well. I'm like, Vicious is just like, I swear to God, I was getting like Eddie Redmayne Jr. in the Jupiter movie, where he's just like, he's like a Shakespearean actor overacting every scene terribly. All right, I'll stop. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, keep going. I'm enjoying this. I don't think I've ever heard you this worked up about anything.
So did you like it? Did you like Cowboy Bebop?
Man, I haven't figured it out yet.
Oh no.
I like it. Look, I mean, what's that? You learn a new way to not make a light bulb. And that's what Cowboy Bebop was. And one day they'll make a good anime adaptation in real life. And I look forward to it. But
I don't think it needed a live action adaptation in the first place. I don't. That's like, it's like when they're talking about making Akira live action. Akira does not need it. I hope that never happens. Akira does not need a live action.
Having so much trouble making it.
I've got this crazy
You know what
idea.
does need a real life live action? Evangelion.
Are they doing it?
If it needs one, wow.
I mean,
maybe maybe somebody can give it an ending that people like because people always hate the ending, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was fine with the TV ending myself, and I don't know, at each.
Listen, we just need a scene of Shinji in a hospital room. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
This is a family show, right?
That's all I'm saying.
Ken is asking if you've seen the new Blade Runner, Black Lotus, if it's any good.
It's okay. It's okay. That's
There's a new Blade Runner?
Yeah. It's a Netflix.
It's Netflix.
Yeah, Shinji Aramaki is doing that too with CGI. It's just okay. I don't.
It's animated.
Yeah, it's CGI.
So Anthony says it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Hey,
I mean, we're only 2 episodes in. Well, there's 3 episodes. I've only seen 2.
Live action.
So
I don't think you would get Elfen live action looking as good as it should.
Here's the thing. It's like the way they try to like hide that they put no effort into these is like, well, look, we got these people acting in it. Like, it does not matter to me who you have in the role if they do a good job.
Hold on, we do not talk about that cursed. We do not talk about that cursed film.
You see what your boy Tom's talking about over here?
Yeah, man.
Really?
No, he's just trolling now. He's trolling. That's cold, man.
Dude.
Death Note.
Dragon Ball Evolution 1 left so many unanswered questions.
Hey, Netflix got the right to Yu Yu Hakusho. So
we
they're
do
going to do good with that.
You know what is a good live action though?
Of an anime?
Quintessential Quintuplets. That is a great live action.
Quintessential? What?
I'll take your word for it. I think that channel is scrambled on my TV.
No, it's a Japanese live action of the manga, and it's good.
You saw like the Rurouni Kenshin movies and stuff.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Full Metal.
Yeah.
The Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, that
I mean,
one.
They can
Full Metal was It's
He doesn't like
it
Full
wasn't
Metal.
terrible.
really. Okay.
It was
Is
budget.
it just the American
I got no
version,
problem for
or
you
is
if
it
you-
the Japanese
I-
version you don't like, Matt?
The Japanese Death Notes are good. TV show
Yeah.
and their movie, those are good. The the Netflix one, ooh, but
Yeah, basically.
They're
yeah,
kind of ridiculous, and people having heart attacks. Like, "Ah!"
Yo, just wait till Netflix says we're gonna do a live action Naruto.
Mm.
I don't even know how they could do that.
The actors for One Piece look really good. They've shown the
Oh yeah, they're
cast.
doing the live action One Piece.
They do look good.
Really?
They pretty much
Yeah.
like what you think Usopp would look like, what you think Luffy would look like.
Yeah, I gotta admit, the actors they
Yeah,
picked.
but the thing is, they did that with Cowboy Bebop, and look at Lou.
Well, no,
That's true.
It's not
Well-
that the actors look bad or anything, or that they didn't have
yeah,
a budget for for this the sets. It's just they just didn't care about making a good show. Yeah, JoJo.
And says the Japanese JoJo live
Yeah.
adaptation was great.
Yeah,
I heard that was good too.
it looks cool.
I heard it was good.
And again, I have no problem if you liked it. Like I like all kinds of
Yeah, no
terrible
problem.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't say you can't like stuff here. We just say
Yeah, no,
we
more power to you.
do.
I eat Taco Bell, man. I know it's poison.
Fine, I'll be the contrarian. I'll judge you on what you like.
Yeah. I didn't say we wouldn't judge you. I said it's okay.
See, I knew this was gonna happen because I know how it is. We talk
I'm
anime.
kidding. It's all
NYC.
love.
It's gonna lead to anime. Oh man.
So how about we continue with the anime NYC then?
That's probably a healthier option.
So since we already know what me and Tony think about the
And
convention,
then they brought Ein. I'm sorry.
Matt, what do you think? What did you think about the convention?
Ironically, I had a list, but because the Wi-Fi keeps crashing, I turned off my computer and switched to my phone, so now I don't have access to the list. So I'm gonna go off of memory here. Line-wise, let's get the big thing. This is probably the con's biggest issue, which actually is saying something if your biggest issue is the con. I mean, is the line. Like, let's be real. The amount of people that showed up and the way how you have to control them, you're going to end up with a line somewhere or another. Saturday, I'm not sure if me and Ralph managed to get any footage or video of the lines, but there was effectively 10 lines at the Javits to get in.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace line, which is the main building, that line moved actually very quickly. Like, once they opened, they were in. Now, I don't know which line it was, but every day there was a line that got in early. And it was never a little bit early. It was early, like 15 minutes early.
Very early, yeah.
Like, I remember Sunday, we were 15 minutes away from opening, and there were already fans rushing over to the Crunchyroll booth to try and get their exclusives and the MiHoYo booth. And I'm just trying to catch them out of the frame because I'm trying to get the shot when they just let the crowds in. So you have me clipping them out, just trying to focus on the one line. And you hear the boss of the security going, "Who let them in? Hold the line. They're too
Hold the doors.
Hold the line.
Hold on.
And so now you have like a bunch of people just waiting to get in as they're seeing everybody else run over to the booths and start forming lines.
Wow.
That's ridiculous, man.
And
one segment, real quick. Do we know anyone who can pull off a Hodor, like cosplay, and just like
Hold on.
literally walk up the doors and like
Hold on.
stop?
he's right up there in
That
the
would be funny
upper
for me.
left now, I believe.
The upper echelons.
For me?
Oh my god.
So that's one thing that
remember when we were
as-
filming the opening ceremonies, And
Yes.
they had let people in. You can see as we're filming and the main guy is talking, behind them you see these people running back and forth, because they were let in already. And you're like, what the freak is going on?
The moment I saw one person, I was like, oh no, there's a leak. And like middle of the presentation, they're like, and so as we're about to open Anime NYC, and you just see 20 people running right behind.
Oh my god. That is too funny.
Yeah. But again, it's something that with the amount of people, you're going to run into that problem. It's not something you can exactly fault anyone with. Maybe security for not holding the line, but it's not entirely on their shoulder. I'm just going to get the cons out of the way first because it's a lot easier. The panels. The panel selection was, I'll say that it wasn't catered to me.
Right.
Okay.
The way how I've heard other people is that even for the people who it did interest, they were all subpar.
Really?
I remember one of my friends went over to one of the, I think it was one of the HoloLive panels. And it was just glitchy and laggy. And at several points, they said that the stream that they were watching died. And they waited there for like 15 minutes for them to bring back the stream. That feels like it should have been planned out a lot better. Other than that, like it was COVID, so getting a lot of their big name panelists is harder than what it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody had asked, I forgot who it was on the list. Somebody had asked, didn't they lose a lot of their big names?
No, that's the good thing about COVID is that they never planned out their lists for this year because they didn't know if it was even going to happen. So They never made any promises. It just looked like they didn't have any of the big names because, well, frankly, they couldn't get any.
Right.
Does visa issue stuff? Was it COVID or?
Some of it was COVID. More in terms of like quarantine is the main reason why we didn't get some of the guests.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we got a lot of like anime stuff at NYC. Like when I remember when I first got into NYCC, I was like, wow, anime NYCC is great. No, I mean, oops. There's like a lot of anime stuff. Like they had the Dragon Ball Super premiere and Tamashii Nations, they had like a big area in NYCC, and they were like, we'll be back at Anime NYC, and I didn't even see them in anime. I don't know what they did, but they had a big. So
you know whose booth I felt bad for? Banspresso.
Oh,
because Ralf knows what happened. Anthony, I think you know what happened to them too. Their figures for their displays and the figures they were going to sell / give away never came in.
Oh, wow, really? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They only had enough for like one row, and that was through 2 boxes that they had in their like New York warehouse. Everything else never came. And then they got one shipment midway through Saturday.
That's brutal.
Look, Andrew says it. Nope, never did.
Yeah, that's rough.
So, like, there's some of that. Maybe that's why Tamashii Nation never showed up.
Yeah.
I was surprised Aniplex was as small as it was. Like, the Aniplex booth felt kind of sad this year, not gonna lie. I was expecting a little bit more from Aniplex, especially with their LA offices.
Were there any highlights from the show that were?
Oh yeah, no, there's highlights. I just wanted to get through all the cons first.
You want to get through the cons of the con?
Yeah, basically. I think that was actually it, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say the cons were actually lower, even with the big cons that they had. It didn't mess up the show.
Yeah. No. In fact, I would say that those one is standard, which is the lines, and then I remember what the last one was. Quality of like the main goods that were sold there, not like artist alley goods, but like figures. There was every booth that sold figures was basically selling the same figure.
Yeah.
So you noticed that, right?
Yeah.
Like there was very little variety between like the figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there was very little manga to look through.
Here's what Andrew says about that. I had friends who do work at the publisher house state that they were just selling anything that they had in storage.
Yeah. It felt like that a little bit. Like it felt like whatever they had on hand was what they were selling. And to one way, I understand it. Like it's COVID, LA's piers are all blocked up. But at the same time, it sort of doesn't give you as a fan like really variety to go look around. Like if you didn't see what you were looking for, you just didn't get anything. And like this was my first con in a long time where I haven't even bought one figure.
That is true. Nate walked out of this without any figures. We bought a bunch of other stuff, but no figures. Andrew's saying yes, anything that was still in shipping and printing had gone up significantly.
Yeah. Yeah, it showed. And like you can't really blame anybody for that.
No.
Like that's just the state of what happened.
Of the pandemic, yeah.
I got no figures. I got keychains and little things like that, but I got no figures.
Keychains.
Yeah. Yeah,
like all the figures that I saw there, I was like,
yeah, but no figures. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got figures at NYCC, so nah.
That's what makes it funny is that NYCC had more anime figures than NYC.
Yeah.
Oh. So now that we're done with the bad stuff, the good stuff. Let's start with everybody's favorite. The art was on.
Oh my!
It was
God.
unbelievably good.
Art was amazing. Every time you stopped at a table, you were like,
"No, artist alley."
Oh my God! Yeah.
Well, let's do a quick plug right now. Ralf, show us the best piece of art you got from the con.
Well, that's not gonna happen right now. That might happen next week, but it ain't gonna happen right now.
Oh no!
Now I want to know.
Yeah, I'm not ready for any of that. I'm telling you that.
You can't even show it to us.
No, yeah, this house is not set up for that.
All right, now my curiosity is piqued. So you have to tune in next week to find out.
Children all behave. Next week on the Written Ridge, Ralf will be showing off a nice piece of art.
See, that's
a very nice piece of art.
Yes.
Whoa.
If you want a sneak peek, go look at our friend Christian Angel.
Yeah, Christian.
Maybe you might be able to figure it out.
He does great fantasy pieces and great pieces altogether. He has an incredible link.
Yeah.
So all right. So we have any of our friends there? What stole
we
the
have
show?
A couple of our friends. Ralf, I think this would fall more under you.
Well, if I, of course we know I'm bad with names, but I remember the first name that pops into my head, of course, is Kika's daughter, Marimar. She had an incredible booth, and her art is beautiful. It has a very fantasy or fairy tale quality to it, and it really fits the stories that she writes, and it has such a clear, crisp, beautiful coloring to it all, and it's just an amazing piece. Marimar does a good job with her stuff, and if you guys get a chance, check her out at she should be at CastleCon. I think that's her next anime convention, or next convention.
CastleCon or Castle Point?
Castle Point, whatever. Sorry, Castle Point. Like I said, I'm bad with names. Let's see, who else do we have there? Of course, Chris Angel. We also had
Emily Reed.
Yeah, Emily Rue, who does the sparkly, the good sparkly vampires. Yeah, if you like Twilight, you'll like her stuff because it's better.
Northwind was there.
Northwind was there, and Nancy was there as well, and the Tuskegee guys were there too. Oof, that was a mouthful.
Color World, our good friends over there are there.
They were there, and they were showing off all their beautiful medals and T-shirts, and it was just incredible.
Rolo was there.
Rolo was there, but he got busy and he wasn't able to come back. But he was showing off the book that he worked on with I'll get it to you. I'll put it into the things over here on the side.
There's a lot more there.
There's definitely a lot more. There
were a lot of people who went there not under the names that we thought they would be under there for.
That's the other thing we were finding out. We found people with other people, and it was so weird, because you're used to seeing them on their own, but they were there like in collabs with other people.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's how Shadow got into Comic-Con.
I haven't applied for a show in 2 years now, but if you want to invite me to come to one,
you'll be your table mate.
Can I say I'm susceptible to flattery? And I usually bring snacks or something. It'd be fun. We'll hang out.
Huh.
I will say, as a positive to the show,
Bummer.
Even though there were long lines and things like that, the people were great. I love that. Everybody was great. Everybody was cool about it.
My God, yeah.
Everybody was so. There's something about like when you go to New York Comic Con, the people are more or less okay, but everybody's into like all kinds of different fandoms. I mean, there are people who go to New York Comic Con, they don't read comics, they're just there for celebrities. There are people who are only there for comics, things like that. Anime NYC, we all like anime. It's like we're all. So it's a sense of community, and just so many conversations. Even though these long times, we start so many conversations with complete strangers about, and it's like the magic conventions. Like we can have different political beliefs, we can have different religious beliefs and things like that, but it's all like we're all tuned into the same radio station. So I mean, that was great. I mean,
it was.
To compare like the long line that I went through there to the long line I went to get to the Ghostbusters Afterlife at New York Comic Con, it's completely different. People were angry. People were yelling. People were like, hey, man, put your mask on. Like, okay. And they didn't put their mask on. It was a whole bunch of, this is a completely different environment. I mean, so I will say that, like, we're great.
We were great.
We were great.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice to find that safe place,
Yeah, Anime NYC. One of the good things about Anime NYC, and I say it every year, it has this feeling of family. You really like to go to anime, even when things go wrong. You like going to Anime NYC.
And let me just say, talking about support, boy, did the fans support this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
like let's just give it up to every person who actually bought something this year, because we basically sold out Artist Alley.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of the artists in Artist Alley were leaving not because they weren't doing anything, it's because they sold all their stuff.
Oh yeah.
No, even when they were sold out, they still sat there promoting. There were people there who had pre-order lists 1,000 people long for products that they needed to ship out on their next shipment. Like, I don't know any other con where that's happened.
Nah, that's crazy, man. Well, all love to the community.
It even extended into the vendors too. Like, there were vendors there who they sold out of every single thing that they had on hand.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know they brought that much Squid Game
stuff. Me and Ralph walking around, and we just kept seeing booths, and we're like, yo, they're down to like 5 stacks left. They're gonna be done by the end of the day.
They
were done by the end of the
I
hour.
did see that. They sold Squid Game masks and stuff.
Oh, everything, all the Squid Game stuff was going.
Yeah,
like this.
I
Yeah,
almost
oh my
bought
God.
one because I want to do that for next Halloween. So I almost bought one, but I was like, I'm not gonna hold this for 12 months. Like October, I'm gonna lose it.
You just wear it to the grocery store, man. It's as good
Yeah,
as
oh,
nothing,
right,
you know?
yeah.
You said wear a mask.
It's like a
I don't think I'm
95.
gonna walk around with that costume. I think this is Halloween.
Oh my God. So in the end, Anime NYC is a fantastic convention. If you haven't got a chance to go check it out, you should go check it out. Even with all the like negatives we talked about today, it just doesn't compare to the experience of being there. The freaking like Matt was saying, it was amazing to be in that artist alley and just see how many people were buying things, and the food alone for they had their own food. It wasn't just like the regular guys that were there. It was like an Asian fusion of a bunch of different foods, Japanese, Korean. I know Nat was like in love with what he was buying.
Ooh, now he's singing my song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so to put the food was like, you know how Java Center food is normally like stupid expensive for no good reason?
Thanks.
That water is bottled all the way in Poland Spring, sir. It needs to be $7.
Quickly, you want to talk about Kintaro Miura, the Berserk artist?
Oh, no.
That passed away.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, his mural was like
Rest
I
in
got
peace,
there.
bro.
Like I got there Friday. Like I mean, by the time I went to so I went to a Jam Project panel, and after that I went to go sign the thing. It's Friday already. It's packed. There was no place for me to sign anything really. That's just Friday. So then they had his panel like when they went through his life, and at the end, like people, I was crying too because it's so soon. It's his passing. It's just so sad, but yeah, it was I'm tearing up now, but. No, we just went too soon. Yeah. But it was nice to be able to honor him in that way, you know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, tears.
Yeah, man. That guy was so impactful on just everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
a fantasy world. I mean, kids. And now we're gonna get somebody like the Game of Thrones showrunners or whoever did Cowboy Bebop trying to finish freaking Berserk.
Oh God!
Come on, man. We just moved past it.
Maybe Griffith. I don't know. Maybe
all right.
You start a boy band. And,
now that we finished with all that stuff,
it's over. The hand is gone.
Oh, God.
It's over. It's fine.
Yes,
Don't worry about it. It's like one issue.
Adaptation. Fund it. From the creators of Cowboy Bebop.
Don't even say that. God, they'll do it.
I'm putting it out in the universe. Berserk.
I read the blurb. And I think I could do it.
Oh my God! Look at this.
Sorry. You're like, let's see. I do a bunch of cocaine and read the cover page of this and write a crappy screenplay.
Oh my God!
Perfect.
All right. So now we finished talking about that and the crappy stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff because these guys are fantastic. It's called the Story Engine Deck, and I've been looking at it for a while, and it's we all know that I love when we can do writer's prompts and all that stuff here, and I think this is like the kick-ass writer prompt that you need right now to get you motivated, and it actually works for D&D as well. And I will bring Peter into the stream.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me, sir. Also, but before we leave behind the Cowboy Bebop topic, the original anime means so much to me, and I'm like kind of afraid to watch the live action because you know how you can't unwatch it. So, do we have thoughts or warnings? I've been avoiding reading reviews. Like I haven't even watched when they remade the theme song. I haven't even watched that because I'm still trying to protect like the original viewing experience. But how do we feel about it? How do we feel about it? I need to know.
I'll say this much before Shadow talks. I'll say that you should go watch that remake of the theme song because that's the best part.
Okay, I was worried about that.
Go ahead, Shadow.
I will say
Tony, go ahead before Shadow goes.
Just take it as a complete alternate reality, and you'll be fine. You know,
Okay.
That's just don't think of it as a replacement for the original or anything. Just a complete alternate reality where things are worse. But, you know, and play Super Robot Wars T. There's a lot of Cowboy Bebop in Super Robot Wars T. Over 50 hours of Cowboy Bebop. So
I also didn't realize that Mario Kart 8 was basically the seatbelts. Like it was, I think, pretty much all the same musicians.
Yeah.
The music for Mario Kart 8. So every now and then I'll be listening to that and just being like, there's a reason that I'm just like really bopping to this.
Yeah, the Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta admit, I like my Mario music, so I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
Yeah.
I brought you on the show because I've been looking at your cards, your set for a while, and it just sits to me as this beautiful way to like just get your creative juices flowing. And you and I did a little something, and I think I'll play that now.
Yeah.
But as I set that up, go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you do, and what you have.
Yeah, so my name's Peter Chakowski, and I've been writing in like a bunch of different really random fields for about like 12 years. But I published a few books, and I've done some like freelance magazine writing. And a few years ago, I was thinking a lot about like things that helped me get unstuck when I was stuck writing. And like I had a couple dry spells where like I did no new fiction for like a year and a half.
Right.
And there's a bunch of reasons for it. Like you get in your own head about it, and especially like you feel like the time that you're going to spend writing, you really have to make count. You feel like you have to have an idea that's good enough to like start writing about. And I would get in my own way, and I wouldn't write. And I remember like just how much it sucked not being able to like get to that flow state where you're writing and it feels really good and you're just happy to be creating, not really caring like where the writing's going to go or what you're going to do
Right.
with it, just like enjoying the process. So I started thinking about like the things that did help me write. And the ways that I would like get out of that headspace where you're like trying to get your claws into a story and like make it do things that like trying to force it to be something that it might not be.
Right.
And I started looking at ways to like prompt myself to do. I was writing microfiction at the time. I started writing like really, really short stories, and I found that like being able to take some of the weight off of the premise of the story and just being able to like enjoy the idea generation and the creative process was really helpful. And so I came up with a deck of like really fluid prompts that help you come up with. It's not like just a deck of preset prompts. It's like a deck where you actually build the prompt yourself piece by piece, almost like Lego. And so you can custom. There's some things where it works like a writing prompt where like it's an idea that's coming from outside you, so it forces you to like try new things. It forces you to stretch some creative muscles that maybe you've been avoiding using, which I think is like really good for every writer. But you
Right.
also get to customize it and pick it and construct it, so you can still pick things that speak to you and that really make it feel like at the end of the day, the idea you've created is yours. It's not just like, oh well, someone else gave me the story idea. Like it really is yours, and you make it your own. And that was kind of the secret sauce that helps this deck help me come up with story ideas, or like not even just coming up with story ideas, but just get started writing and like getting out of my head and getting out of my way for creative writing. And that made a huge difference to me. So eventually I put it on Kickstarter just to see if it was something that would connect with other people. And it took off in like a bigger way than I ever expected. So it's kind of become like my full-time job basically is
Nice.
working on this thing, sharing it with people. And I'm working on my new world building deck is going through some sensitivity reading and proofreading right now, but that's going to be starting to print. But because like you mentioned, the supply chain stuff with like the ports being blocked up.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to be going to print in like probably a little less than a month. We'll be sending the files to the printer, and then we're not going to get the decks till October 2022. Maybe sooner. I'm hoping sooner, but I'm assuming that I always like to assume the worst case scenario. So, but yeah, the sequel deck, which is a world building deck called the Deck of Worlds, will be out next year.
Nice.
And yeah, it's these are like basically it makes the idea creation process just like a lot more fun, fluid, and fast for me. And a lot of other writers have like connected with it and found it was helpful for them too.
That's amazing, and especially with that you moved on to the next piece, which would be the world building deck, because a lot of creators have problems building their worlds, and I think that that would help a lot of people out, especially D&D people, because when they're creating their worlds, especially to play whichever campaign they're playing, sometimes they might need a little help.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm most excited about for the new deck is there's actually like there's a collaborative rule set where you can create a world together as like a group. So the whole party has kind of a role in creating this world, and so it lets it just be a little bit more like entwined. It's not just like the one DM's vision on like everything. Like everyone has little parts that they'll have added to. And then there's a play mode that I'm still experimenting with. The rule book right now is still like up in demo. or there's a beta version available for the Kickstarter backers, and it seems to be like a lot of people's favorite thing. It's the Pantheon play mode, where basically like each of you inhabits the mindset of a god who's part of co-creating this world. And so you draw a bunch of cards that like dictate what your like values or your goals are as a god. So you might be like the god, like basically your cleric domains in like D&D. So like you might be the god of like hunters and fish and vengeance and also let's say, I don't know, politicians also, why not? Like just you have some random domains that you connect together. You pick the ones that you like. And then as you're building the world, you're like looking for ways to embed these aspects in the world and to like prioritize these things. And it makes it fun because it's cooperative, right? You end up with this really cool multifaceted world where it's not just like, bland and flat because like it's only one person's ideas.
Interesting.
But there's a little bit of that like sibling rivalry you get from like like the Greek gods, where like they all kind of hate each other a little bit and everyone's trying to show each other up. Like I like the idea that it's cooperative but also a little bit competitive, and you end up with this messy, interesting world that feels like an actual lived-in world because it's not just one person's perspective. So I'm pretty excited to see people take that and run with it. The beta feedback's been good and helpful, and yeah, I'm excited for that to sort of get out there. But Story Engine Deck has some like collaborative prompt building too. But it's not quite as like some of the stories that people have sent me about like building worlds. Like there's a dad who was talking about his daughter has some like developmental challenges, which sometimes make like writing and creating hard for her. But they sat down and did the like collaborative world building, and like it didn't take her long to start like building these like towns with elaborate backstories, and like when the mine closed years ago, and like coming up with stories that explained all the different aspects that she was putting in. And I think it's because it took the weight off of it being a piece of writing, and it makes it a bit more of a game, right? Like you get a little bit more of that sense of play coming back into it. And I feel like because writers, like sometimes we start to take ourselves really seriously, and you forget to play, right? And like playing is like it's half the fun.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we always do that. We're like, we're writing the story, we're creating. Like, wait, I don't have time to play.
Yeah. But like some of my best ideas come from play. So it's just been cool to see people like trying it out and responding to it.
Well, Andrew here is like, if you need a beta player.
Yeah. I'll for sure. I'll remind me after. I'll send you the beta link, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, dude.
Andrew's good. He's a RPG creator himself, and
awesome.
he does a lot of this stuff too. So
a cartographer for D&D maps and everything.
Exactly.
Whoa, awesome. Very cool. Yeah, the world building deck is designed so that you can kind of like create the like you're actually laying out kind of a map. It's not meant to be literally one-to-one, but you can kind of generate a rough scale and actually have players travel around the world. And one of the decks is called the Advent deck, and it's basically like current events that could have future impacts on the area that you're talking about. So it's neat because those also work as like story hooks for players who are wandering around the world, and now they're going to get embroiled in this conflict or whatever.
Dude, I love this. Can you shout out your website and Kickstarter real quick?
Yeah. So you can find Deck of Worlds. Deckofworlds.com is like the short URL that'll redirect to the Kickstarter page, which has like the pitch video, and I've got a demo or two up of it, or like demo video. So that's deckofworlds.com, and then storyenginedeck.com is the main one for the Story Engine deck. And the Deck of Worlds right now, I don't think I have a public demo out yet, but like it's ready. I just need to like get all the web wires to connect, and then it'll be downloadable. Story Engine Deck, you can download the demo like literally right now. You can download a bunch of cards to print for free at home and try it out. And if you're a teacher, all of my resources are basically, there's a free print in your classroom version available for teachers.
Oh, nice.
I just think
dude,
like
you're murdering it, dude. This is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, like this has been like I've been working as like a independent creative for a while, and this was the thing that I found that I made that just like I loved making it, and people I think really saw the passion that went into how it came together.
Oh yeah, you can see it just in the way you're talking. You can hear the passion on how much you believe in this.
Yeah. Oh, actually, the other thing that I'm excited about, and there's still I think 6 more days, but when the Kickstarter overfunded for Deck of Worlds, we ended up I always like to set aside some copies for educators that are like free physical copies. So until November 30th. Yeah, I gotta remember what the link you redirect is. There's a short link for it. I'll post it on our Twitter after this. But there's you can go and register to get a free physical copy shipped to you next October, and you'll get it's gonna be like a lottery system basically. We're allotting 128 decks to schools, free shipping anywhere in the world.
Dude, awesome.
And even if you aren't one of the people selected for it, you'll still get the digital print in the classroom copy. And I've got a friend who's a curriculum developer writing lesson plans for like how to actually use it in the classroom in a way that like
that's
supports
great.
curriculum goals. Yeah, and that way it's
Mhm.
like it's not just a thing where like I feel like all the cool teachers who like bring cool stuff in often have to do it as like on their own time or like as an
That's a
extracurricular.
definite, yeah.
Yeah, and this way it embeds in curriculum a little bit more directly. So it's something where like you can actually do it in classroom time and like hit some goals for talking about like let's imagine you want to talk about the way that different cultures might share geographical space. You can do like a little project where everyone gets to create their own culture and talk about the way they would have interacted or like look at the history of an area or something.
Because one of the reasons I like this so much, especially because when I do my writing show, sometimes it gets difficult to like explain certain concepts to writers who are trying to learn how to write. And I feel like the deck actually helps with that explanation, because sometimes you're trying to like grasp certain concepts, and you're trying to like put it out there in a way so that's easier to digest. And I feel like the cards itself makes it a little easier to digest, because it's like, boom, here's this card. You have this, and this. What do you choose? And it kind of helps you break down the writing process, because you're like, okay, so here you go. You're starting off your story. You need something to start it off with. Here's your starter. And this is just showing you what the starters can be. At the same time, it can be anything, because but it gives you an idea, an example of at least 4 starters, right off the bat.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was really happy with about like how the deck comes together, like I mentioned, like Legos, like there's different card types that you combine, and you can do different. It's almost based on like tarot. Like there's different spreads you can use for the tarot to like come up with different types of readings. And similarly, like the deck, you can combine card types in different ways in different arrangements to get different types of story structures. But the most basic one is designed so that like the card types basically make sure that your story prompt has every ingredient that you need to have like an interesting story, like really to have something where there's going to be a character, there's going to be a desire they have, there's going to be something that desire is connected to, so like a second element that they're in conflict with, there's going to be a conflict or a consequence for them fulfilling their desire. And then there's another deck called the aspect deck, which is basically just adjectives that you apply to other cards to give them a bit more like texture and make them more specific and feel more real and grounded. And that's it. Like it takes you can do a prompt in like I think the video I sent you was like a minute.
Oh, exactly. Good thing. Good segue there, because I'm about to play that video so people can see and get a better idea of what we're talking about.
Okay, we are going to do a random story engine prompt for Bitten Apple TV. Here we go. Let's start with an agent card. We have an artist, a musician, a writer, or a dancer. I like a dancer. Next, we have an engine card, which is the character's desire. We've got wants to unravel the mystery of, or wants to spread a lie about. I like wants to unravel the mystery of. Let's draw. I'm going to go with an anchor card. Yeah, I kind of want to do an agent, but let's do an anchor card. A costume, a performance, a script, or a stage. I love this. Ooh, a stage or a performance. I'm going to go with a performance, but if you want to change that, you're welcome to rotate it. And then lastly, we're going to draw a conflict card. But they will have to do something they can never tell anyone about. But it will mean confessing to an old sin. Ooh, I like, but they will have to do something they can never tell anyone about. And then we're going to draw an aspect card and tuck it under one of the other cards. We have controlling, ornate, enchanted, or fallen. I love the idea of there being an enchanted performance with a mystery behind it. So I'm going to go with enchanted. All right, and that is your writing prompt. Altogether, it reads: a dancer wants to unravel the mystery of an enchanted performance, but they will have to do something they can never tell anyone about. Good luck.
I just realized that's basically the plot to Black Swan. I think that's like
what's funny is that you're saying that, and I went in a whole different direction with the whole thing. Good. And so I'm like, okay, the way I saw it more mythical, So I went in that direction, but I have my mind tends to have stories that are supernatural, some aspect of something. But now that you're saying that it's the whole Black Swan thing, I'm like,
I wasn't trying to
wow,
do
I
Black
didn't
Swan.
even go
I
in that
literally
direction.
only realized that while I was watching it now. I'm like, I think that just describes.
I thought of it more as like a dark mystery type thing.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
but-
prompt, and then your mind can go in any direction you want. And
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is see multiple people take the same prompt and then just like completely different directions and
Exactly.
interpretations. Yeah.
And that's the good thing about that. And you know, there's times where you know you're looking for prompts, and you go onto all these sites looking for prompts that can help you out. I feel like this is great because now these are prompts that you are creating from this deck, and it's pretty much a prompt that you're getting. It may not be completely original, but it will be different than what's already out there.
Yeah. And it forces you to like pick a starting point that might be a little outside of your comfort zone. Like I know for me, when I'm coming up with story ideas, like I often kind of draw water from the same well again and again and again. And I like that. It's like part of what defines my style as a writer. But there's a time after which like it's good to just kind of force yourself to try something a little bit different.
See, it's so funny because you know you got Andrew. He's already looking at 3 different
crime.
ones.
Yeah.
I saw true crime,
Interesting,
a gangster story, and I can see that. And as soon as he says it, I can actually see it.
Yeah,
you know, it's not the direction I went, but it's so funny that he says that because I'm like, wow, I see that.
Yeah, especially in that conflict card, they have to do something they can't tell anyone about. Like that's got true crime, vengeance, something written all over it. Like
exactly.
I want to pick at that. Yeah.
No, this is awesome. I already sent the link to my D&D crew, so
awesome. Yeah, because like my favorite thing for using it for D&D basically is like whenever your players like screw up your plans and you're like, all this, I need a new NPC like right now. You whip the cards out, you've got an NPC, you've got motivation.
Whoa!
Your motivation connects to the party, or like, hey, I need a new setting. Like you draw. There's that blue card that was the 3rd card to pull is the anchor deck.
Right.
So you whip out a couple of anchor cards, and you're like, okay, well, I'll set it in a factory. But I want to know more about the factory that I'm going to set the next scene in. So you whip out an aspect card. And we've got a shattered factory. Okay, so I'm going to set the next scene in a factory that was like smashed during an attack. And now, like, basically, you haven't had to stop the game. You've got your next scene going on.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can just do that on the side, especially since you got the DM screen up. They don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let me look at my notes.
I'm looking at my notes. Ralf, you sound like you're doing cards.
Yeah, it sounds like you're shuffling. Yeah.
My notebook is just very specially made.
Yeah. Actually, in the the fantasy expansion, all the artwork from this is from a tabletop RPG called Emberwind.
We know Emberwind, yeah.
Yeah. They're good people. I did some writing for them, and I ended up chatting with Derek, the founder, about like I just think the art was like basically perfect for here's a nice like bright one that'll show up well on camera.
Hold on. I'll pull you up. Hold on.
Yeah.
There you go.
How do I get it to focus? I'm really bad with the camera here.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so it was like perfect for like just adapting the art they'd already done, and I sponsored a couple new pieces. It lends really well to RPG. The fantasy deck especially is like pretty much perfect for like any fantasy TTRPG.
Oh man, it's so funny. Like I love the many aspects of this. You know, I love the fact that you can do the writing. I love the fact that you can do the D&D. I've always believed the same thing, and I've said it many times because D&D has shaped the way I write. So I feel like they both are synonymous with each other. You know, if you want to learn how to write, start playing D&D because it'll give you a background in creating these things, and also seeing how your writing is put out there and affects other players or people, or how they come across with it. Yeah,
writing can be such a lonely task, right? Like, and a task where like you don't get to see the impact or like understand like, hey, how did that kind of plot hook hit, or what would another character say in response to that? Because sometimes we always write our characters in our voice to a certain extent. You project as far as you can outside of yourself when you're trying to write characters, but there's still like always a bit of you in there. Suddenly you get to see how like another character reacts to that scenario you thought of, and it totally opens up new ways of like approaching a scene. Yeah, I think that like being in a role play group of any kind is like amazing for any writer.
It's funny that you say that because what I was doing before was D&D was affecting my writing. Now I took one of my stories that I finished and I said, what would happen if I played this as a D&D campaign.
Yeah.
So now I'm putting it together, and I'm putting it so that the players can play it, and I want to see how that's different than the other way that usually happens, where the game inspires the story. Now I want to see what happens if the story inspires the game.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear how that goes.
Definitely.
When are you running that game?
I'm already like doing test runs to see how it's gonna go, and it's interesting to see. Already, I'm like, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
The players have already gone in a direction where I'm like, it's not a direction that kind of throws me completely off, but it's a direction that I wasn't thinking about.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
I've definitely been both like the player who ruined the DM's plans, and then also the DM who had their plans ruined.
Oh yeah,
like I've been on both sides. Yeah.
Which is more fun?
I mean, I like ruining DM's plans. I really enjoy it, and I've been lucky to have like some really good DMs who like they can take it. Like they almost dare you to. Yeah, but I don't know. Like as a DM, some of the most fun moments come when you go off script, right? And you're just
definitely.
Like, what are we?
Yeah. It's funny. Like there was a reveal that happened in the game that wasn't supposed to happen for like a long time yet, and now I'm sitting there going, okay, they know this aspect of the story, but this other aspect of the story on why this character is important hasn't even happened yet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mystery behind the mystery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that they met this character who they weren't supposed to meet yet, and they haven't even met the NPC that leads you to that character. And I'm like, okay, so this
you skipped a level.
Exactly. So now I'm sitting there going, all right, so what happens when they meet the character that's going to talk about this character? There's an aspect that there's something there now that I'm like, this is interesting. I can't wait to see what happens when they run into that character. Because they're going to be like, oh, we saw him.
Yeah. I want this character to be like really building up the character they've already met. Like, there's no way you've met this person. They're like da 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 da, and then the characters can like totally deflate them and be like, "Oh, you mean like Bob? Yeah, I know we met Bob. Bob's great."
Exactly.
I just remember the cartoon, the Batman, when they introduced like Batgirl before Robin, it was just so hard for me to wrap my head around. I was like, no, like Robin comes first. They did bring Robin eventually, but it's like, no.
I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was watching,
it was so hard for me to wrap my head around it.
I was
like, I've been it's another one that I've like kind of not dived into yet for the same reasons as Cowboy Bebop, where I'm just like, I still have the original, and I once I let go of the original, I can't unwatch the new thing. But for Wheel of Time and the Amazon adaptation, one thing that sounds really cool though is that they're starting off and you don't know who the Dragon Reborn is. It might be the books. And I think that's interesting. I think that's a chance to do like and then mentally it makes it easier for me to be like, oh, the show is a different story.
Yeah.
I'll give you that much.
Professional fan fiction of the original.
Like how you said that. It's a professional fan fiction of the original.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
When Marvel started that Ultimate line, and it's like, like by issue like 12 or something, you get Psylocke. I'm like, no, like, but it's like after 10 years, of course your continuity is so convoluted because you introduced all these characters so early.
It's like they could just call it something different. Like they could be like, man, I loved Point Break. If only it had Vin Diesel and cars instead, and we can make 10 of them.
Are we back to Cowboy Bebop?
Just call it something different.
Yeah.
Like, let's make Point Break again, but they're on snowboards or something.
Yeah.
What is this? Get this dude's writing prompts and come up with a new story. You lazy.
See, what they need is this deck so they can actually get something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to blow your minds with my brand new fantasy series, Rolling Chronology, it's called. And there's something called The Snake Who's Born Again. And we don't know who they are. And stop me if it sounds like I'm trying to stay one step ahead of the copyright lawyers.
Oh, man. But you have something interesting here. Yeah, it's really great. I'm telling you, it caught my attention as soon as I saw it. And I've seen that you've been adding new things to it, and more decks and more stuff.
Yeah, and like one thing I want to make clear, like the main deck is designed to work in just about any genre. And the main deck, it's got 180 cards, but that's enough. That even just using the one simple prompt format, there's
Right.
32 billion combinations. So you like the extras are really cool. I love them. I find them inspiring, and it's some of my favorite artwork. But like and this is like I'm doing the opposite of selling right now, which is probably a bad idea. But like you don't need them. They're really cool and fun. A lot of people will get value out of it. But like the main deck, if you just want some like ideas to work with, and like this will give you 32 billion ideas. And each of those ideas you can interpret like as many ways as you can think of. So like there's so much mileage in that. Like I wanted the core deck to be something where people don't feel like they need the extras if they don't want it. And again, I wanted to see something where like if you put that in a classroom, that's an idea engine that people can use for years and years and years to come and not get bored of.
Right.
So yeah, the extras are cool. I think they have some pretty badass art and some neat like niche genre ideas. Like there's the three these are the three genre expansions. So these are like 60 cards each, horror, science fiction, and fantasy.
Hold on, I'll put you up.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so the fantasy is like really good for tabletop RPGs. The horror one is good for horror writing. The sci-fi can be also really good for things like Shadowrun and like sci-fi RPGs or sci-fi writing.
Oh.
And then there are 6 like subgenre expansions, which are a lot smaller. They're 18 cards each, but this is where you get into like eldritch horror or the cyberpunk specifically,
cool,
Awesome.
or post-apocalyptic. And there's a couple other that have Emberwind artwork too. This is the mythology one that is like one of my favorites for the artwork.
Mythwalkers. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That looks beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's they're just fun because like every now and then you really want to add a dash of like a particular like genre spice to your dish, and it's also really, I guess my favorite thing about them is like blending genres is really fun, because you end up with like cybernetic angels, or like I don't know, psychic cowboys.
Well, you said cybernetic angels, and I got a story in my head already. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it's these things where like all of that material is in your brain anyway. This basically just helps you sort your unconscious into rows where like, hey, that is a story, like that is shaped like a story. Yeah, so it's fun because like it's a very like after school special message, but like generally like the ideas were inside you all along. This is literally just helping you like sort through everything that's coming at your brain and put it in a row, and you're like and then be able to see it and stick with it. But
I love how you put that.
The deck doesn't bring anything that you don't already have there. Like
I love how you put that. I love how you put that together. You know, this is just pulling what's inside of you already out. You know, and it's one of the things that here in the Written Writ where I try to like, you know, tell writers who are trying to write, this stuff's already inside of you. It's just the whole thing of being able to pull it out.
Yeah, because everyone knows how to read a story, right? Like we all, when we're watching a story, we know what makes it satisfying or not, and we have different ideas about it, and that's what makes like, you know, writing interesting and different and diverse every time. But we have an instinctive or innate understanding of story structure. The hard part is like, how do I take what I know from watching and reading stories and listening to stories, and how do I like be able to figure out how to put that structure when I'm telling one?
Exactly.
And it really is like it's unpacking all these unconscious lessons you already have. It's kind of like it's so hard to explain. Like English grammar makes so little sense. It is such a weird language for grammar, and it's so hard to explain the rules, but we know them, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for how to structure a story. Like we know these things instinctively. We know when a sentence does or doesn't scan well. But it just takes
just by reading through it, you know, you people tell me all the time, you don't know. No, you know, dude. You read a sentence and it doesn't make any sense to you. It's not going to make any sense to anybody else.
Yeah. Or like the other cool, like once you start to learn the rules of the structure better, you figure out how to like break those rules in ways that are really interesting and intentional. Like that's the other cool thing. Every now and then you'll see someone who just does something really different with the story structure. That like, oh, I never would have thought of like Squid Game actually. Like I think that the second episode is so brilliant. Because it takes the story in a completely different direction, and it makes the rest of the events feel more horrifying and inevitable because everyone who's there is choosing it. Like the horror is not that they're trapped in this prison. The horror is that the world is the prison, and it's what makes us do these desperate things to stay alive. Like that is a mind-blowing way to disrupt the story premise, right? Like I was so shocked by episode 2. And you know, there's so many shocking moments in that series.
I couldn't stop watching it. Like I blew through it in like 3 work nights. Like, you know, 3 nights. I couldn't stop watching it. I just wanted to see what happened. Like, and it wasn't like, it didn't like end in cliffhangers like most Netflix shows where it's like, oh, it ended in a cliffhanger. I want to see what happens. I just wanted to see what happens.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens, you know. So
yeah.
So that was really good.
Yeah. I definitely thought it was really interesting storytelling, and I'm curious to see if we get a season 2. I feel like they've got it.
From what I'm hearing, they have a season 2.
Yeah, we'll get a season 2.
Yeah, you know, all the little fishies that talk to my ear that I don't like them talking to me because they always spoil things for me. They're saying there's a season 2.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you learn anything about it, don't tell me.
Don't worry, I don't usually share any of that stuff. Every once in a while, somebody's like, "Ralf, you need to talk about this stuff." I'm like, "No, this stuff spoils things for me. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody else."
Yeah.
You know. Oh. Yeah, there's times where I'm like, why did I read that?
But I want to know more about. Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead.
No, I get so many things spoiled to me. I'm so desensitized to it. It doesn't.
See, that's the way I am. They can spoil things for me, and I'll still go see it. So.
Yeah. I'll still go see it, but every spoiler still hurts for me. Like it's the first time I've been spoiled. I've never gotten like a thicker skin or a better ability to handle it. The first really bad one for me, like I remember, and weirdly, like I got late in life without being spoiled for anything really big, and then episode 7 of Star Wars got spoiled for me. And I was like, come on, like you don't get a new Star Wars that often, or at the time we didn't think we were going to get a new Star Wars that often, and then we got too much Star Wars. I would say. I would reckon. I like it all, but it was a lot very fast, and it made it all less special, you know, as each thing came out. But episode 7 getting spoiled was a oof. That was a hard.
The way I try to look at it is, you know, so all anyone's ever gonna tell you is blankety blank died. They're not gonna tell you the music that played in the background. They're not gonna tell you They're not gonna. They can't explain to you the flow of dialogue. There's all those things, and if you're watching something and it's good, you'll forget. If you get into it, you'll forget that someone spoiled something for you. Now, if they spoil something for you and it's bad, you'll just think about it throughout the whole. Like, oh boy, you know. So
well, actually, it was interesting, like watching Game of Thrones when I'd read the books, and knowing what was going to happen in the scene. I would still hope it would happen differently somehow. Like the Oberyn Martell versus the Mountain, I was still like, please don't do it. Maybe it'll be different this time. And they changed small things in the show, so there's just enough hope that like maybe it'll play differently. And then it was so much worse than even the book. Oh my gosh! Oh no!
No.
So yeah, I know what you mean when you know how it's gonna go.
Like I know we talk about this show all the time here, you know, especially the Shadow. Like, what the hell? But what bugs me out the most is
not too many things get me, but
you got this hit show, and all you need to do is slow down. This is your first chance to actually slow down, make the episodes last longer, because you need to like break it apart so it's easier to digest. You know, and you get this chance to like break it down and make more seasons of the show so that you can actually get to where you need to go, and you don't take it. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, you wanted more of this show. Yet you sped up the last season like you needed to get through it for some reason, and that is what I don't fathom as a writer, as a person who knows that you need to sometimes time to flesh something out. I sit there and go, why didn't you guys take it? It would have made you more money.
Yeah, I know. There's it, like you can't even attribute it to greed, right?
No.
Like usually when a show does something, it's because they're getting greedy about like, but like even then, like you were printing money. And then you decided to like, well, let's just run the press until it explodes, and let's do it like really fast so it explodes quickly. Like, what is the rationale? I still haven't seen the last season. I
keep it that way.
Yeah, everyone I said is like just hold on to it that way. And I was on a work trip for like a month away from my wife, and we wanted to watch it together. So like the first episode dropped, and we were like, oh, it sounded like it wasn't that great, but that's fine. We'll catch up in like a month or a bit. And then by the time the 4th episode was getting reviewed, we were like, maybe we dodged a bullet by like waiting this long. And then by the time it was done, we were like, okay, I guess we're not watching.
I feel terrible saying it, but yes,
I didn't like the endings either.
Keep it there.
I didn't like the ending. I mean, I was fine with the season until like, well, there's a reveal towards, I don't know what we gave it those. There's a reveal towards the end. It seems like things out of nowhere, and it just, I don't know.
It's like one of those. It's like, no, it's not going to get worse. Right? No, this is probably the ground.
Yeah.
It's just like,
the
sinkhole.
Still moving. Elevator still.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It can't possibly get worse than man. If life has taught me one thing, is you never say that. because something's gonna happen.
No, but it's not even. Again, what bothers me is if you're gonna just whatever it, then whatever it. Make Sharknado.
Yeah.
But like, it's just this like apathetic, like I don't know. It's laziness.
Yeah.
But
Like, there's definitely lack of care. You could see
yeah, and that's what's disappointing. And it's disappointing because people do care about it.
Yeah.
So if the showrunners no longer care about it, it's not like you can't find somebody who's going to be invested in the thing you've spent so much time involved in. Like, let someone else, you don't want to paint the last guy on the ceiling. There's lots of other artists around who want to do it. Don't just be like, I'm good. Smiley face.
And that's what it felt like. It felt like to me, like, we're tired of making the show. I don't care if we can make more money. We're just going to speed through this shit. And
they just threw the birds up and they're like, whatever. If you don't like it, it's because it's your problem.
I'm pretty sure that when sorry, now I'm suddenly having a brain blank, and part of it is it was my birthday yesterday, and I'm a little bit hungover. Just
Mazel tov.
Don't worry about it, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you. So this is gonna sound so dumb, but Da Vinci painted the Sistine Chapel, right? That was
right.
Da Vinci. Yeah. So the guy who made him do it in the church, he ended up by the end he hated doing this. He hated that he was doing it, but he was going to finish painting the ceiling. And then he painted the guy who basically made him keep doing it, getting bit in the dick by a snake, if I remember, something like that.
Yes,
I can't remember exactly what it is, but I just think that's
Michelangelo did not like the post.
I think if you're gonna finish a show begrudgingly, do it that way. Like, make it still good. All the art's there, but like, make fun of the network for making you do it. Like, every great show that's been canceled and they've hated the network has had great like gut punches at the network while they're getting canceled. Like Gallivant, the musical postmodern weird 2-season show that I think is like an absolute gem. They had some great digs at the network while they were going out. Like, they did nothing but make fun of the fact that they were getting canceled at the end of both of their seasons. And I think that's how you do it. That's how you go out with no class but still make a great show. Like, yeah.
So Michelangelo, he'd constantly get in trouble by the church and everything.
Michelangelo.
So he made a sculpture that they didn't like. So he went in the middle of the night and changed it. And the next day they were, the Pope or whoever. I don't think it was the Pope, but one of the cardinals was like, "Oh, you did this. We're gonna punish you." He's like, "I didn't do. How could anyone go in overnight and change a statue? It must have been the divine intervention." And he called their own bullshit against them, and they couldn't do anything. He's like, "It wasn't me. It was God, clearly."
Yeah.
He's saying a man went in there overnight and carved a stone statue completely different.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
Yeah,
just,
that is master level trolling.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Not a Starbucks coffee cup on the table. Not an episode that's too dark and you think that people could have watched it in high-tech screens. Like, that's how you do it.
It's funny that Andrew said this, but it goes for this show as well. Are we talking The Walking Dead? Because exactly what
the first season of that was pretty good.
The what?
The first season.
I'll hold on for a few seasons of that show. First season is definitely
first season
above
good.
Everything else. But for me, I was still enjoying it. There were a lot of downs in the middle, but I held on until Negan's appearance, and I thought that I actually liked Negan's appearance in the show. But then it was just like mouthfuls of blood for half a season. Nothing, all downbeats, and like. I'm very interested, like, lately in Robin Laws has a great book about upbeats and downbeats. I think it's called Beating the Story, but about like how to make sure that even if you're telling a sad story, there are still these small wins. Otherwise, it just becomes like a monotony of downbeats. And interesting system for like mapping it and everything. And like that season was just downbeat and downbeat and downbeat and downbeat and downbeat until you're again how low is the bottom. And then there's a turning point, but it's so late in that by that time, like I lost all investment in the show. And I read the I've read the comics. I haven't.
He does great in the comic because he does those upbeats.
Yes.
He doesn't always.
The comics.
He's not always stabbing you in the.
Yeah.
I love when Rick left. That was his exit. Was just the dumbest thing. It was just. I don't know. Like his whole. I don't know. It was. I was. But the thing is with that show was like it stopped being about like zombies. It just became about people being jerks to people. Like it wasn't even about. It's like, oh, we gotta get Negan. Like, yeah, but what about the monsters? What about the zombies, it just became all people being jerks. I'm like, well, I could just live my life if I want to deal with people being jerks. They're everywhere, So
there's no metaphor left. It's an escape. Watching these shows, they're just like, it's like, what am I? Yeah, I agree. It's like, what am I still doing this for? Sense of masochism. I mean,
it's almost like the saying, "Oh, people are dicks. Enjoy it."
You're gonna die one day. God. Thanks.
The zombies don't get you. The people will.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. Jesus.
That is the reason that we love to tell stories, is to remind ourselves that we're all gonna die, and if the zombies don't get you, other people will.
Drive in the crushing meaningless of this experience. No, but that's so not the point. And I mean, like you've said, there's so many. There's 38 billion different combinations of how to write an interesting story. Instead of like putting any effort into that, well, I don't know, whatever. We'll just regurgitate something that was uninspired to begin with.
And that's why I feel. That's what I feel everything is now. Is instead of using stuff like your cards, which would help people out, and you get better storytelling and whatever. They're like, let's retell that story. Let's retell that story again. Let's retell that story again. And I'm like, dude, let's go find something else.
It's fine if it was a good story. But
exactly.
They're going for like the worst stories, and like, okay, that was pretty bad last time. Let's put werewolves in it.
Or they do the other way, which is, oh, that story was great. Let's make it worse.
And when you watch Cowboy Bebop, can we hear your synopsis of it?
I would love to hear what you think.
It can be off camera.
I'm gonna rewatch the anime first and really enjoy and savor that, and then there's no going back once I jump. I mean, again, maybe it helps. I think what you said helps. I'm just gonna think of it as this is an alternate,
its own thing.
What's the Teddy Roosevelt quote?
Oh,
it's not the
critic
who
kill you, and if they don't get you, the people will. That was
Roosevelt. Right. Okay, that was Roosevelt. Yeah, you're right.
So I talked over you. Actually, do I hear the quote?
Oh no, it's the. It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. You know that one?
Yeah.
And then I'll just say it. And it's the people who wrote Cowboy Bebop are garbage. The live action screenplay. Not the classic
original beautiful series.
And the love letter to jazz and music itself.
And noir, because that's what that is. Like for the original Cowboy Bebop, is love story to noir, to jazz, to good storytelling,
to just being cool.
Being cool.
Anyway, sorry. Okay.
I think I'll have to do Samurai Champloo rewatch too, just because it's been I think 10 years. That's
nice.
Again, tight, interesting, well framed story. And again, like it's to me like one of those examples like I know that like I think we've almost built a mythology around Firefly, which is maybe too intense at this point, that like maybe it doesn't deserve quite as much as we talk about it. But like Firefly, I think it was so masterful in doing the like each episode is so good and interesting, but each episode's contribution to the master arc plot is like just every brick in this Keystone arch is beautiful in its own right, and then the pattern they make is even more beautiful.
Right.
And that's what I love about like the frame story of like the what is like the samurai who smells like sunflowers? Is that the and that mystery. So I just think it's like just the whole like Julia and Vicious and the backstory, and like when are we going to get to pull those parts understand the whole thing unwrapped. Love that. I love those structures.
What did I do bad now? Too bad about it.
He's calling you out in this whole
We're gonna talk about animated YC, dude. We're gonna talk about
you guys you knew it was a touchy subject. I was trying to
dude, it just keeps coming back.
Dude, it just shows the passion for the original story. And again, I gotta say that
well, when I get on something that I hate, oh my god, like my friends will be like, shut the hell up. Oh man. I remember when I saw the second Wolverine movie, I was like, yo, I kept saying over and over, 4 comics, they only had a top 4 comic. And I said it so much when my friends were hanging out at a bar. Someone asked me in the bar, hey, what'd you think about that movie? And all my friends chimed in. They all said at the same time, 4 comics, they only had a top 4.
That was Origins, right?
So,
that was Wolverine Origins.
the
One?
second
Yeah.
film.
The one with the first with Deadpool in it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's the
Guess
first.
guess who wrote that?
That's the
screenplay.
first one. David Goyer. I don't know.
Who wrote it?
No, wasn't it the Daredevil? The guy wrote the Daredevil movie.
This is the guys who oh wait, actually, well, whatever. It was the freaking guys from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
You gotta be
really?
kidding me.
I gotta look back. Maybe he didn't write the screenplay. He was involved in it.
It makes sense.
I don't want to misquote. Look, I'll Wikipedia it later. I don't want to
Yeah.
misquote his terrible contribution to cinema,
See,
but he was involved in it.
Yeah.
See, the first Wolverine movie, you know, they're taking stuff from, like, I understand, like, any comic movie, you're taking several issues and putting it together in one. The second movie is based on, like, 4 comics, man. How could you? And it's not like those are the 4 greatest comics in the whole world. It's easy to improve, and they just, I don't know. Silver Samurai was a robot suit. I couldn't with that.
Forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that.
Okay.
When I saw that movie, I was just as bad as you. With Cowboy
Look, man,
Bebop.
we're giving them the wrong feeling. We love this stuff so much more than we dislike any of it.
I mean, yeah.
But the few things that are trash should be called out for what they are.
Oh yeah.
To stop other people from stepping in it.
Yeah. Hey, that's a public service.
Oh man. So I see we're running down time here. What do you want to tell the people about your product? I really love it. I think you got something going here. I love what you're doing with it. I love the fact that you're actually giving it out to teachers because this is a great tool.
Well, I wanted to hear what story idea you came up with based on the prompt. I only got to hear that little teaser, and you've left me wanting more here. So
I will say it. Let's see how much time we got. Okay. So here it goes. Music is my soul. It courses through my veins, becoming my very life essence. Is the reason I became a dancer, so I could feel it flow through me as I released it into the world. Not long ago, I heard about a woman that danced so divinely she became one with the flow. Danced the stage as if an artist brushed strokes caressing the canvas and bringing their creation into existence. The crowd left speechless, with many in tears when she was done. She only performed it once, and then was never seen or heard from again. Some say that she became one with the stream of life that day. No one seems to remember her ever leaving the stage. They say one moment she was masterfully marking her elegant footfalls, and then the next she was gone. Some say they remember her feet leaving the stage as she ascended. Her choreographed movements flowed like a feather through the air, and then she was gone. I've traveled the world searching for her, wanting to become one with dance as well. The journey has led me to this town of phantoms, this place that time itself has forgotten. It's a town, yet not a town. Its long empty halls are filled with life itself. It is said once you find this place, you can tell no one. Yet beware, for they who pierce this haunted shell may find themselves forever one with it. I know not how long I've been in this place. Feels like I just arrived, yet an eternity has passed. I find myself in this old grand theater, moving with the winds themselves as I sway over its ancient stage. My movements as like a leaf in the wind as I swirl, twirl, and pirouette. I can barely feel the stage beneath me as my soul intertwines with the music itself. All the while, some string of a thought itches my being, begging to be scratched. Yet I ignore it and dance with my essence as a symphony coddles me. It caresses my heart. It streams through my pores. I must find her. I must dance the dance of creation of life itself. For my soul screams out to its lover, the symphony, to be touched as only it can. It notes like gentle fingers caressing me to ecstasy.
Love it.
So I decided to go a different direction with it.
Yeah.
And if you're paying attention, you might realize certain things. If you're not paying attention, you might not realize certain things. Either way, the story works itself.
Yeah, so my theory is that when they reach the town with the corridors and stage, is that anyone who's dancing there, like that dance suddenly just manifests itself somewhere else, like at an actual stage, like where the person first saw it, and that's what plants that seed where someone else comes looking. And I can imagine that creating a cycle. Like when the narrator does this, they've now lured somebody else to try and find that town because they witnessed a version of a performance like that where the crowd left weeping and the person, for them it was like a leaf, not like a feather, but like you get the echo of that first performance in the description of the second one. So I see the cycle of it. Like I really like that. And I also love the way that you build. I love stories where the lore is uncertain. So like some people said this thing, some people said this thing. Like I love that we don't actually have the answer, but all of it still feels real. Anyway, yeah, that was masterful. Love what you did with that.
I appreciate that, man. I like how you broke it down. Thank you.
Yeah.
You hit a lot of the right notes. I'll leave it up in the air. You guys want to tell me what you think? Let me know.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. But that's what I got from the cards.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. It was like I saw you do the. I saw you pull the cards, and I was sitting there for a bit, and it was at first it was a whole other story. But as I sat there and as the words started to come to me, I realized, we're going in this direction.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a story, yet it's not a story. Yet it's telling you something, yet it's not telling you something. Now, who is the story about? Is it about the person that's telling the story? And I was like, okay, here we go. Let's go.
Yeah. Nice. And it's interesting how it'll start to coalesce around one part of it, and then it's almost like a seed crystal, right? Like whenever there's a crystal formation that happens, it always starts in one spot, and then everything, the lattice builds around it. I feel like that does often happen with the cards. There's one card in particular where like, that's the seed, and then everything else starts to spread out from that. Yeah, that was very.
And you're right, and it's funny because it was like I had something going in my head. It was going in a different direction, and then you pulled out the what's the last card you pulled out?
Oh, the enchanted.
Yeah, the enchanted performance, yeah. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
all right, I got this. Yeah, and that was the one. Everything started coalescing around it.
Yeah, like it went like because it's a really beautiful lyrical piece the way you've written it, but there's also like a creepypasta vibe where and that's what I love about it. Like there's that tinge of horror that keeps the fantasy side interesting. Yeah, it makes it harder to pin down how you should feel about it, even, right? Because there's something about it that's a little bit horrifying. Like someone has kind of vanished into a mystery that's not going to let them go.
Exactly.
But it's also beautiful.
Yeah, because the whole thing, the whole performance is just breathtaking. It's just it's something to see, but at the same time, do you want to see this?
Yeah, because it could happen to you now. You could be the one who's going to look for a nowhere town, which will consume your soul, and you can never leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that is the moral of Hotel California. You check in anytime you like. Yeah. What was I going to say about it? Yeah, so the like parting message I was going to say is just like if you're curious about it, you can download it and print it at home for free, a demo of it. There's enough cards to do like several thousand combinations and get to see how the deck works. And if you find out that you like it, then you'll know. So I always say check out the demo first, and that's just storyenginedeck.com/demo. And yeah, it's a fun little deck, and there's some new expansions and boosters coming out for it as part of the Deca Worlds campaign. So as of next October, I think that I'll be distributing the PDFs probably next month, so people can print copies at home early. But next October, we'll be shipping copies of a mystery expansion called Written in Blood and Alibi.
Right.
There is a backstories expansion. So rather than all the stories being present tense, this gives you backstory relationships between characters that connect them. So you can have and specifically, I was thinking about Cowboy Bebop when I was writing these, because that show is so good about tying backstory to present consequences in the story. And so so there's a backstories expansion, and then I'm doing one on unique items, which is gonna be, I think, really fun for the D&D players. So cool. Really fun. It's like the aspect deck where it's like enchanted or whatever, like adjectives, but the adjectives are all like item properties. Some of which would be like fun utilities for a D&D game, and some of them are just weird. Like like a sword that creates talking wounds that will like tell you secrets or like.
Wait a minute.
I love it.
Wait, what? A sword that creates talking? No, dude, you're giving me bad ideas.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or it's not the sword. So that creates talking wounds will be the aspect. You can pin that to any card, so you can end up with a bunch of different item types. It could be a scalpel, right? Like how effed up would that be? Like a scalpel where you cut and then it starts to tell the truth, and the truth has been like, what's the
Oh
word?
my god, no.
Yeah.
I love it,
You're
man.
making it worse for the players. Stop it.
Oh yeah, this
I
deck
got
is
the whole
not.
story now with a talking wound.
Yeah, this deck is not friendly to players. I mean, it's meant to give powered items to them, but all of the items, there's almost always at least one curse on the item, or like a restriction that makes the item only work under certain circumstances, and you can combine and layer these and give multiple to one item. So
Oh my god, love this.
I think that's gonna be fun.
Dude, go ahead.
You a Hunter fan?
Sorry?
Are you Hunter x Hunter fan?
I don't know
Anime?
what that is.
Okay.
I'm
We'll
embarrassed
talk
to say.
Check it
Yeah,
out.
that's fine.
It's an anime. It's Hunter x Hunter. You might like it.
I'm understudied in anime. The animes I've watched are good. They're really good ones, but I've only seen like 5.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Dude, one of the good things I was gonna say was I was on the site and I saw that whole thing where you sign up to get the cards, the PDF cards, and I was like, oh, cool, that's a good idea. I also see here that you're actually having a sale.
Yeah, I mean, so sales a little bit misleading. That's the only way that I can mark down prices in Shopify is with this one thing where you say the normal price, whatever price. So that's the price is pretty much always that price. That they don't feel like that's an urgency thing where you have to buy it now.
Don't listen to him. He can't do this all day.
Yeah. I
And there's more.
Because of like the raw material shortage and the freight stuff. I'm actually going to be sold out of decks probably in the next somewhere between like 3 to 6 months. I think we're good for the holidays, but after that, not so much. So the reprint that's coming is going to be not available till October, and the price will probably go up a bit just because like it was a lot more expensive to produce this time. So I guess it is a sale. Yeah, it's a sale.
Oh, see, I was gonna say it has to be a sale. And it looks great though because it's like, oh look, $29 out of 39. Oh, I'm gonna get this.
Yeah. Well, the 39 price is basically like you get the PDF with it. The deck on its own, like when I go to be selling it at conventions, is 30. So this is basically like it would be 40 for that bundle of those.
Oh, okay.
We mark it down. I like it just because every now and then, like when people buy the game overseas, it's shipping out of Indianapolis. Fun Again Logistics is my shipping partner. If someone's like ordering it to like the UK or Europe or Asia, it just takes like sometimes a month, 6 weeks to get there. So I give everyone PDF copies of everything they're buying so that they can print at home decks. And there's like a really ink printer friendly PDF version. Again, mostly I did that because I wanted it to be something you can print really cheap in classrooms. Like so many teachers are on a really tight printing budget. That is the version that'll tide you over basically while you're waiting for the.
Well, it looks like Andrew is sold on what you're selling.
Awesome. Yeah.
And he also said to make sure to give him your information so you guys can talk.
Yeah. It's I run the socials it's at Story Engine Deck on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that. So you can it'll be me answering you there. And then my email is just storyenginedeck at gmail.com.
Fantasy Distraction says this is such an amazing concept. Definitely need to get my hands on this.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that it's of interest. It's a lot of writers have gotten a lot of fun out of it, and it's been cool to see like the entire gamut of like new authors who just want to get an idea to write about, who haven't done a lot of writing, and they just want like a story idea that comes packaged with like a good solid structure that'll lead to like a better first result story, right up to like Hugo winners using this to do short stories. And somebody just sold, what was it? One of the pro mags, they just sold a story that they wrote entirely out of the sci-fi deck to one of the pro mags. And they were really
cool.
Wow.
That's a pretty good sell right there.
Yeah. Actually, one of my first like big links that I got from a writer was Jamie McKelvey, Wicked and the Divine, tweeted about it. And there's like all of a sudden I was getting like, I think I like my sales for like this 1 12-hour period were like 15 times higher than average. And I couldn't figure out what had happened. And I finally tracked down the tweet. And it was when I was living in Edinburgh, which is where he's based. And I think a friend of a friend had slipped him a copy of the demo or something.
Wow!
Because the deck wasn't even out yet; it was in pre-orders. So yeah, it's been cool to see some authors that I really admire take it on. Like I'm a huge fan of Jamie's work, and C.L. Clark of The Unbroken has been a fan and a supporter. So like really talented authors whose work I've followed. Seeing them use it is like mind blowing.
Amazing. Dudes, people out there, you guys need to check this out. It's an amazing little set. As you saw, that was only because we were supposed to do this like ahead of time, and I got busy with Anime NYC this weekend, so that all happened today.
Wow. Well, nicely done.
That all happened today. But I sat there and go, I want to have something for the show, so let me just make sure to sit down and actually work this. But I gotta say, as soon as you sent it to me, I was at the Anime NYC when you did send it to me, and I was like, dude, the idea just kept playing in my head, and I was like, I know where I'm going with this, so let's see.
Nice. Well, yeah, I love the results. And microfiction. I haven't really talked about this publicly yet, but I was diagnosed with ADHD 5 weeks ago, and that's been like, okay, cool. It makes the last like 30. How old am I now? My age just changed. I'm 33 now. I made the last 33 years of my life make so much more sense.
It does. As soon as you find out, it makes everything else makes sense.
Yeah, and so I've published 5 books, but all of them, like the longest story is 4 pages long. And suddenly that makes sense too. But microfiction, not just for like ADHD writers, but like it is such a great way to flex a bunch of different writing muscles,
exactly,
and techniques and voice experiments, and like cannot recommend it enough. It starting to write microfiction was like a huge pivotal point in my writing career.
I have to tell you, for a long time, people were like, why haven't you published? And I was like, well, the stories I write are really short. And then I didn't understand why I was doing it that way. And then when I found out, I was like, oh, this makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
That's as much as I'm going to get for that whole thing.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that really, my last book came out, and my publisher suggested, like, have you tried doing any of your microfiction on TikTok? And I would have thought I'd be the last person. Like, I'm such an old man with technology. I'm really grumpy about like learning new platforms. I don't like change. As you can see from me still having not watched the new Cowboy Bebop. But I tried TikTok and microfiction. There are places where it works, and I've had like some of my stories take off. So try it out, and it opens up new avenues for storytelling.
Which is with the direction I'm going with now. I'm going to take because I do a lot of challenges here. The Written Writ. So I'm taking all of them together and putting them in a book, and I'm going to call it Writ Bits.
Yeah,
because, that's what they are, the little bits of the challenges that we've done. So that's what I've been working on in the back, and hopefully Writ Bits will be out soon, and you guys can all see all these little short stories from all these challenges that we've done over there. Well, it's been 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah, that is awesome.
All right, so that is Peter's last word there. Anthony, what's your last word?
This was fun. I had a good time. It took a long time to get me to come here, but I had a good time. This was a lot of fun.
Well, you're roaming Tony, so it's always hard to find you. Shadow.
Isn't it great that we live in a world where there's so many different stories to be told?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's keep remaking the same ones over and over.
If they want to face all the nerds at Comic-Con, just do a panel.
Yeah.
Air it out. At least they owe us that much, don't they?
All right, so Peter, one last time, tell them where they can find you. That way they can go out there. When you get a chance, you might want to put all that into the messages. That way, it's already here on the video itself.
Yeah. So how do I do that? Actually, I don't know if I know.
I think I'll send you the link to it, and the video stays up, so you can use it for whenever you want, and I'll give you the YouTube link as well.
Yeah, and I'm at Story Engine Deck on the socials, and storyenginedeck@gmail.com for email, and storyenginedeck.com has all like links to all this stuff. So yeah, it all lives there.
With that, gentlemen, that has been the Written Writ, and I do what I always do here at the Written Writ. I press the button, start